Falling back on the stale propositions about healthcare will not win the argument. The Conservatives have more leeway on this issue than I think they realize. And the NDP, they can't simply be Dr. No. They would be foolish to reflexively fall back on outdated cliches. Voters have moved on, and so should they. I've said about 275 times in this speech that the government received an economic mandate, almost as many times as the Prime Minister called for a strong, stable majority. But that's what the voters gave their new government, the government they expect to govern for 4 years. And their government knows this. If you want any evidence, you just have to look at the fact they portray the most recent budget as an extension of the Economic Action Plan that was instituted in 2009. This informs how we expect to see them approach the policy agenda. And we can expect to see a continuation of a program with continued personal and corporate tax reductions, a focus on deficit reduction and fiscal restraint, further reductions in regulation and red tape, new resource development, continuing efforts to create new and expanded free trade zones, and liberal trade policy can be expected as this government returns to its traditional free trade roots. The focus on limiting deficits will, of course, mean constraints on infrastructure spending. Those proposing projects that require 100% federal dollars will unlikely to be met with approval. On the other hand, proposals involving alternative forms of funding, P3s, for example, are likely to be more welcome and fare much better. The government has not received a mandate to proceed on social issues. Since this election, in our view, does not represent realignment, the government is unlikely to assume that they can win the next mandate without Quebec. Expect to see continued overtures made to persuade voters there. Toronto, often called Fortress Toronto, represents a breakthrough for this government and one that they will want to continue to nurture. With an ally in Mayor Rob Ford at City Hall and significant new inroads into the city itself, we would expect to see some rewards and a change in the dismissive attitudes of the past. The government will likely want to address municipal issues, possibly on matters of transportation or commuter times. And yes, look for action, look for bold action on health care. Unlike governments past, we would not expect to see them to tie funding to old interpretations of the Canada Health Act. New approaches and efforts by provinces to find ways of delivering healthcare more effectively and at a sustainable cost will no longer be met by ideological opposition from the federal government. What this whole process has shown us is that once again, there is no real value in the echo chamber. It's not what you hear at the CBC studio on Front Street. It's not the latest chatter at Highs. You can only hear the truth if you take the time to go out and listen. To dock workers in Halifax, to ranchers in Alberta, to the internet whiz kids in Vancouver, to the single condo dwellers that are all around us. Smart leaders know this, and smart leaders have been listening. This vote was a specific reaction to specific circumstances. It was a limited but clearly defined mandate and an overarching concern about the economy, coupled with a willingness to push the boundaries on healthcare. My friends, that is the story of Election 41, as told to us by Canadians themselves. Thank you very much.